What's good, people? Time for another Magic Man review. Today we've got a good one. These are the quotations from Chairman Mao Tse-Tung. Okay? Of course, Chairman Mao wrote all these little quotations that are taken from him. People often refer to this as Chairman Mao's Little Red Book, but they're just his quotations. One of the viewers of the channel was kind enough to send me this book. Thank you very much. If you remember, I did a review on Gaddafi's Green Book. I think Gaddafi's Green Book was better than this one. Gaddafi was a character, he really was. Mao, not so much. A very stern kind of guy. I took some notes on the book, and I'm just going to go through them. I'm not going to really elaborate on the book. It's just different quotes and different things on different topics that Mao thought were important. If you go back to the book we did about Stalin's War, or I did about Stalin's War, you'll see a lot of the thinking of Stalin was a Marxist-Leninist thinking and a Marxist-Leninist ideology. Okay, Chairman Mao is a pure Marxist-Leninist, so you have to understand his kind of thinking and the thinking of Marxist-Leninists to understand some of the things in here, because if you don't, you'll be like, what is he really getting at? You have to understand that mindset. It's not hard to understand. It's basically do as you will. Just get power, and once you have power, you can justify anything you do. It starts off with a democratic revolution. You have a democratic revolution to overthrow the bourgeois society, and then you have a socialist revolution, which leads into a communist state. You have to understand that what we think of in the West as communist countries, like Cuba and North Korea, they're not really communist countries. Communism is like the pie in the sky, the goal, the belief that a socialist state will lead to a communist utopia where the state withers away. All right, it's kind of like capitalism. How do you define capitalism? I define capitalism as it's like a measurement. How much state control you have to how much, you have a lot of state control to no state control, anarchy basically. It's a measurement. Same thing with socialism. But he makes a lot of good points in here. I have to give it to him, even though the guy was a mass murderer for real. I don't think he intended to kill as many people as he did, but kind of killed a lot of people. He talks about bureaucratic capitalism, and that's what we have in the United States right today. People, they get all mad and upset about political parties and who's occupying the presidency or Supreme Court judges and who's in Congress. Those people come and go. The real power lies in the bureaucrats. And if you see the Orange Jesus has been getting rid of a lot of bureaucrats, and people just mad because that's the real power. The bureaucrats, they're forever. Presidents, they come and go. The bureaucrats, they're there for life, and you just can't. It's hard to dig them out once they're entrenched. So he talks about bureaucratic capitalism, which is kind of cool. He was a clever guy. He really was. I mean, you had to be if you're a dictator of like millions of people. But a lot of things he says in here, it's like the Bible. He spoke it into being. He just said it, so it is. Like, we're going to just take your word for it. It's like, I said it, so therefore it is. It's crazy. He's very clever. He says political power comes out the barrel of a gun, and that's absolutely true. You think, little scribbles on paper really mean anything? No. Power comes from force. All right? Always has, always will. You can manipulate people to a point, but if you want real power, you have to have force. And he says the political power, the chief component of political power in China is the People's Liberation Army. It's the army that gives them the power. It's not the people, the masses and all that stuff. It's the army. All right. he makes some really good points about the United States, and keep in mind, Chairman Mao died like the '60s, so we're not talking about the '70s and the '80s and the '90s and current day. Even back then, he's saying that America is kind of screwing itself over. It's making its own noose and putting its head in the noose by having all these military bases all over the place. How it's draining America. The military is draining American society, and it's true. The military, I mean, the waste in the military is just astronomical. I mean, the money they spend on the military in the United States. I mean, we should have a freaking Death Star by now. They might have it. I don't know, but he doesn't understand the chessboard. How Western powers use different military bases and NGOs to play kind of a chessboard. So even though you're a smaller power, like say France or Britain, and you go to a country, or say like Portugal, you can go to Africa, or you can go to China during the Opium Wars. You're outnumbered heavily, but your military bases and your agents of influence can take over a country through corruption and graft and military power. Even though the British and the Portuguese and the French were heavily outnumbered, like 1,000,000 to 1, they were still able to conquer the world. So that's what he doesn't understand. But he's also right in the modern sense that all these military bases around the world that the United States keeps in with its vassals and all that stuff like that, I wish they get away from that. I really do. Just give up the ghost. You're not going to rule the world. You don't rule the world. You'll hear this quote sometimes when they talk about the president saying, "Oh, the president, he's the leader of the free world." First of all, nobody elected him to be the leader of the world. And the world's not free to begin with. So it's kind of one of those arrogant statements they come out with sometimes, that Western powers, Western leaders come out and they think they're all that, but they're not. It's funny. You'll see a lot of different oxymorons in this book, but in their mind, it's not an oxymoron. It's the absolute truth. Like democratic socialist dictatorship. How you fit all those three things into one concept is, you have to read the book and see how they think, understand Marxist-Leninist thinking. And it'll have monopoly capitalism. That is true, but it's not true. You're not supposed to have monopolies in capitalism, but you do. It means it's not really a capitalistic society. They're exactly the same thing, except different flavors. It's oligarchy. You got one group of people telling the other one what to do because they have control of the military, the church, and the intelligence services. It's an oligarchy. You can put a hammer and sickle on it. You can have the stars and stripes. It's still an oligarchy. You're not free. Come on. Grow up. What a lot of people don't understand in the West, when we talk about like our army, or like the American army, or say maybe the Russian army. The Russian army not so much, but it's the army of Russia. Okay, the Russian people, that is their army, and the American people, when we join up to be in the military, it's our army. Okay, the army in China is not the army of how should I phrase that? It's kind of hard to put out. The Chinese army is not for the people. It's the People's Liberation Army. It's the army for the Communist Party. The same thing for the Navy and the Air Force. You'll see it's the People's Liberation Army Air Force. The People's Liberation Army Navy. I'm like, what in the world? How can you have an Army Navy? It's just their way of thinking. It's the Communist Party's military. It's not the army. It's not the military of China. It's the military of the Communist Party. He does speak about what he foresees China as becoming. His vision for China is to be an advanced industrial society. And he tried to achieve that. But He killed a lot of people. His um, Great Leap Forward, where he tried to industrialize um, China, killed a lot of people. A lot of people starved to death. It was horrible. I went there. That's what they tell me, but a lot of Chinese people have come out and said this is what happened. Um, he says he wanted an industrial power that was devoid of great power chauvinism. And what that means, right, is how Westerners think of. Westerners have a kind of a train of thinking that is zero sum game, like it's all or nothing. I've got to be the king of the hill, or somebody's gonna push me off, and then who knows what's gonna happen after that? I'll just be nothing. I'll be a slave, or I won't even be a real power anymore. That's how people in Washington think. Okay, that's why they said we are the. You listen to the stuff they say on the news or in the media. It's just crazy. Like the shining city on the hill. We're the leader of the free world. Stuff like that. It's chauvinistic in the sense that we, the Western people, are leading the world. It's like you're only a small fraction of the world's population. You're not leading anything. You're just buying people off or sticking a gun in somebody's face, right? Or stealing their stuff, And Western leaders, this is the difference between Western and Eastern thought. So you'll get that a little bit in here. And Mao himself, he wasn't divorced. Typically, when you think of like a Marxist-Leninist or a communist or socialist leaders, you think of them sometimes as just like swiping the board clean and starting fresh and new. They just want to get rid of the old. I forget the 4 olds or 5 olds that Chairman Mao had, like old beliefs, old systems. They really did away with a lot of stuff. But even Chairman Mao himself was not divorced from Chinese civilization that came before him. The different dynasties of China, he still remembers some of this stuff and brings it forward. But they made a lot of mistakes along the way. The communists in China. Today, it's still the Chinese Communist Party, but in practice, it's more. They say it's socialism with Chinese. What's it? It's Chinese socialism. Okay, basically, what that means is national socialism. It's socialism with Chinese character. Okay, the same way the socialists divided up in between the First and Second World War. You have German National Socialism, you have Italian National Socialism, you have Spanish National Socialism. Tongue tied. Today, China is a national socialist country. They still have all the hammer and sickles and stuff like that. They still have one party, the Chinese Communist Party, but in practice, they're practicing capitalism to a limited extent, to a controlled extent, like a socialist country would. And that's kind of the legacy of Chairman Mao. Actually, the one who brought all that stuff was Deng Xiaoping. Deng Xiaoping was the one who transformed that. Chairman Mao kind of screwed up. He killed a lot of people, but that was his vision, And one of the things they really screwed up was with the population. It's the one child policy, and now China, now that they're a modern civilization, just like everyone else. Well, not everyone else, but they're on par with the United States, or even above the United States in many aspects. Asia, if you go to Asia, you have all this high-speed rail, and the United States has not one track of high-speed rail. It ticks me off. It's how can you be an advanced civilization and you don't have high-speed rail? Just get out of here, man. It's propaganda. It's crazy. But some good stuff in here. A lot of it's just it's just mindless communist bullshit. I really don't. I studied communism when I was younger. I wanted to understand what people are thinking. Marxist-Leninism, communism, socialism is pretty much kind of like branches off the same tree, really. And so I really didn't want to read it, but I was like, hey, one of the viewers sent it to me, so I was like, go ahead, I'm going to read it. And it was good. He wasn't a total nut job like Pol Pot, but man, he got a lot of people killed. You'll see, and he tried to, he was losing power. He doesn't get into this in this book, but he was losing power like in the 60s, late 60s. And him and his wife was really power hungry too. They kind of went against the old guard and launched a cultural revolution and just had civil war within China against the younger communists and the older communists. Kind of like today when we have like the baby boomers and the millennials and they're at each other's throat. Well, they actually went to blows and they were killing each other. And you get a lot of that in the book, what's it, The Three Body Problem? One of the book reviews I did earlier. There was a lot of that in there. It takes place during the Cultural Revolution. The Chairman Mao launched because he wanted to hold on to power. He's getting to be an old fart, and they want to get rid of him. So he launched the Cultural Revolution and killed shitloads of people. I mean, it's crazy. Interesting guy. He's not a character, though, like Muammar Gaddafi, man. I miss Muammar, man. He used to talk some cash money. It's too bad the way they did him like that, but it's power, baby. You know, you gotta get that bling bling. Gotta get that power. You get the money, you get the power, then you get the woman. Anyways, quotations from Chairman Mao Tse-Tung. My Chinese pronunciation is not that good. Till next time, people. If you like this video, like and subscribe. Till next time.